my God, guys, I just finished watching AEW Dynamite, and just as many of us expected, Kenny Omega is back in a Dynamite that was just full of just brawls and dissension. I mean, my goodness, this was a really wild Dynamite, guys, and they teased it last week. You knew it was going to happen. You knew that it was no other partner Young Bucks could have had for the trios tournament other than Kenny. And they first came out there by themselves with Brandon Cutler. And as soon as Justin Roberts was given the paper, as soon as Brandon Cutler gave him the paper, I knew that Kenny was coming out. Because as we all know, whenever Kenny comes out, he has his long introduction of all his accomplishments and what he does. And as soon as he was given that paper, the crowd went wild, guys. And it was great to see Kenny for the first time in nearly 9 months since Full Gear last year, where he lost the AEW World title to Hangman Page. And at that point on, had to get surgery for multiple injuries. And on top of that, the overall fact that his whole title reign that he won at Winners coming back in 2020 when he beat John Moxley for it. The fact that whole title reign he was dealing with injuries, the fact he had been dealing with vertigo, which is insane that he even wrestled as long as he did as champ, and to finally get the time off to get his surgery. It was great to see him come back. The crowd was living. The crowd was wild for 276 days, I think is what the commentator just said. JR and Tony Schiavone. It's been that long. It's been a long time since we seen Kenny, and it was great to see him come out. The crowd was living. As soon as they heard the introduction, you knew Kenny was going to come out, and Kenny, just like he was before, trying to get back on his feet, but he still looked good. I don't know if he was selling his injuries or if he was legitimately struggling to get through the match, but definitely he had a bunch of bandages. He had a brace on one of his knees. He didn't have his shirt off like he normally does, so that kind of tells me he must not be fully recovered, or he was hiding some of the bandages he had on his arms. But it was some good stuff. It was great to see him back. He came out, dapped the fans up. They faced Rush and Andrade and Dragon Lee, and it was a really good main event. Really good 6-man tag for the trios tournament. And as you would expect, the Young Bucks and Kenny managed to win, pinning Dragon Lee. To get the victory. Kenny hit the one-winged angel to win, but it was a good match, guys. I mean, this was really good. You saw Kenny also come out with Don Callis, which was interesting because that was when Kenny turned heel originally with Don Callis. So to see him come out with Don, for Don to be commentating the whole time, you start to wonder, is Don a face now, or is this, is Don still a heel? Like, what's the relation there? To see him still come out with Don was quite a little interesting touch. But to see him come out in general, we all figured it would happen. Just last week, CM Punk comes back. Instead of All Out, we're going to get the match between him and Moxley next week. Not sure why they're doing that, unless this is going to lead to something bigger at All Out. Maybe a rematch, maybe CM Punk, maybe a returning MJF. I mean, there's all types of possibilities of what could happen since they're doing this match early. I'm really shocked that they're not doing it All Out at this point. But given the brawl they had earlier tonight, they're not doing it all. They're actually going to have it. They're actually going to have it next week at Dynamite, and I'm interested to see how that's going to play out. Really can't believe they're doing that. So nevertheless, a lot of possibilities. And Kenny Kenny, Kenny, we get his return this week. So I mean, this was quite the show. But just an absolutely amazing main event. It was great to see Kenny back. Fans are still chanting, "You still got it." Both teams look really good here, and like I said, it was just a great moment. And it's weird because Dragon Lee was the only one that wanted to shake her hand like the code of honor, and I believe it was his first time wrestling on Dynamite. They mentioned that this is his first time teaming with Andrade, and it didn't end well for him because after he got pinned, Rush actually allowed Andrade to attack his own brother. So I don't know what the deal was there. Quite a weird ending way to end the show. After Kenny pins him, he shakes his hand, he says something in his ear, then they attack him, and that's just kind of how the show goes off the air. I don't really think that part was necessary, especially because early tonight we already seen some family dissension with the Claim, with the Gun Club, with them attacking their own father and siding with uh, what's his name, Hathaway, siding with him after his father said he was proud of him after they beat Giff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. in a quick squash match. He said he was proud of them. He was happy. This is what he wanted to see from them because he had been disappointed with them since losing the dumpster match with the Acclaim. And they actually, attacked Billy Gunn, and the Acclaim came out for the save, and now it looks like Billy Gunn is on the side of the Acclaim, which was a quite an interesting scenario that played out. But this was just definitely seemed to be a Dynamite full of brawls. I mean, you kicked it off the night with Punk and Moxley brawling with each other. Punk had a lot of interesting lines, references that he cut. He said that Moxley wouldn't be the first John he beat, and that he beats in Chicago, and he's not even the best at that. He said, he's always been second best, even in he was even he was even the second best in his own group, which is quite interesting. He says that because if you let Seth, aka Tyler Black, tell it, he'll say he was the leader of that group. So I used to think he was the leader before Seth turned on him. But anyway, yeah, some pretty interesting lines. Said he was the best in the world. Moxley basically telling him that his title didn't mean nothing. I'm not going to repeat exactly what he said, but he said his title didn't mean nothing. He also said the title he got didn't mean anything, and it made him sick every time you hear them call him interim champion. So they really brawled after some strong cuts from both of them. Even Punk telling them like, hey, if I fight you now, you might bleed all over me. A reference to Moxley frequently bleeding in his last couple of matches he's been having, where it's always blood. But yeah, it was definitely reference to the Shield, reference to Cena. But I tell you, it was something. That was a pretty interesting way to kick off the show for sure. They got at, and apparently they brought again, but they were trying to get them apart from each other. You had the Jungle Boy and Christian Cage who went at it after Christian Cage tried to sucker Jungle Boy in and say that he sees him as a son, say he didn't want to fight him at All Out, like Jungle Boy was trying to get him to fight him at All Out, saying, let's just restart this, this time I could take you to the top, like, really trying to suck up to Jungle Boy. But Jungle Boy wasn't having it, and it looks like we're definitely going to get that match at All Out, the way how it played out. But this show was just really quite a brawl fest of a show, uh, between the turns and the twist. Um, Tony Storm had a good match with I forget her name, but that was a decent match. Tony Storm managed to win, build momentum for a match with Thunder Rosa All Out. Um, like I said, the Acclaim, I mean, the Gun Club, they squashed Jeff Garrison, pinned him really fast. Brian Pillman Jr. Didn't even get tagged. Like I said, it was quite a Daniel Bryan and Danny Garcia had a 2 out of 3 falls match. Excellent match. Or even Ascension with that. Now, Danny Garcia's got to decide, is he going to be a sports entertainer or is he going to be a wrestler? The fans were even cheering wrestler, and he was this close to shaking Bryan Danielson's hand after Bryan Danielson made him pass out. Uh, and he was about to shake his hand. Chris stopped it. He attacked Bryan Danielson. He was upset with Danny Garcia, and he told him, you're gonna have to make a choice. Next week, he actually is gonna apparently have a face-to-face confrontation with Danny Garcia, where he's gonna have to decide whether he wants to be a wrestler, sports entertainer. So that's gonna be interesting, especially when you consider the technical wrestler Danny Garcia is, and he proved that in this match. A lot of moves that Bryan Danielson usually does, he managed to do it before him and counter it. The stomps that Bryan Danielson does, that knee, he actually hit Bryan Danielson with that in this match. So, it was definitely very back and forth. In fact, Bryan Danielson managed to get kind of like a roll-up type of pin to get the second fall. I didn't see how Danny Garcia got the first fall because I stepped out of my room for a second, but like I said, it was a great match. So you had that to kick off, which was amazing. But man, I just wanted to mainly come on here and talk about Kenny, and then briefly talk about the rest of the show, because this was definitely a show of brawls and just chaos from the Jungle Boy and Christian. The kickoff of a brawl, CM Punk and Moxley, and then another brawl happens later. Jungle Boy and Christian, brawls and Ascension. The Ascension with Dan Garcia, he got to figure out where he's trying to be. The Ascension with the Gun Club. Billy Gunn's own kids decide to, turn on their dad, which is crazy. We've seen it plenty of times in wrestling happen, but it was just crazy how this played out. So, I mean, this was quite a crazy show. I definitely would say that. But, yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Just want to come on here and talk about that. I'm interested in this CM Punk and Moxley thing. I'm also interested with the way they ended the show, with how they just attacked Dragon Lee, if that's going to lead to anything. Yeah, Kenny's back, guys, and he looked great. Looked really good, should I say. Maybe a little rusty, got to, get back in there. But like I said, it was great to see him back. And I hope, hopefully he has, maybe we might see him as CM Punk at All Out, or maybe we might see it at Grand Slam, or maybe we might see it at Full Gear. I don't know what's going to happen, if they're really doing this match next week. And, AEW are not the type to do false advertisements. I know they're going to do it. I'm really curious, if they're doing that with Moxley and Punk because they can't contain themselves, then where does that leave us at All Out? Is it going to be another undisputed match for the belt? I mean, or they just have a rematch, or is Punk going to face somebody else? Like I said, maybe MJF might make a surprise and come back, because they're technically 1-1 against each other. So I don't know. I'm definitely interested in what this is going to lead to, but I guess that remains to be seen. So that's pretty much it, guys. Sign off, Master Flex, and like, comment, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys another day. Peace.